Well, hello, everyone. It is time for another personal share to share with you uh, where I've been and where I'm going in my personal awakening journey. And also, this is like a personal video diary for myself so that I can keep track. You never know when this information may be useful. My teacher keeps telling me, who I just finished talking to, had a consultation with my teacher. She keeps telling me to write a book, and I don't have any interest in doing that, but she thinks I should. But anyway, so this is my personal diary, just updating on where the things that have happened in the last couple of months, actually the last month. So where do I begin? You know, in speaking, I don't think I've ever said this before, talked about the lineage that I am aligned with this lifetime. Just to give some background, when I'm talking about, I speak to my teacher or consult guidance person, or the person that confirms in me and has also done a lot of healing trauma work with me, is Danny Antman, Antman. And she's written a book called Wired for God, and she has done a Bat Gap interviews. And I highly recommend listening to her story and reading her book. Anyway, she is a disciple of Swamiji, or also known as, I'm going to try to say his name, Swami Chandrasekharananda Saraswati. And he is from the lineage, from a really long, like the oldest lineage, the Pantajalis, the Vedic lineages. I'm probably saying all the wrong words because I don't have that knowledge, but I'm just sharing with you when I share these experiences and my knowledge of Kundalini, that it's all coming from this lineage. Swamiji's master was Swami Bodhanand Maharaj. And it goes on and on. It's a very long, ancient Indian Vedic lineage. And it is the lineage of spiritual alchemy, which is the science of Kundalini. And so perhaps I'll even show you a picture, if I can, of a Swamiji. So that is the lineage I'm associated with, and why I'm sharing my Kundalini experience. And it's all based on the knowledge that I've gotten from my teacher, who spent decades with Swamiji, and Swamiji was a devoted disciple. That's all he was here to do. You know, these are highly trained, highly spiritual masters. Anyway, I won't show you a picture. So what do I want to share? Some really huge shifts have happened. And let's see, about a month ago, or after my last personal share, my physical health my physical energy in the last, about a month ago, it reached its lowest point. I was so completely depleted and couldn't get my headaches under control. Headaches relating to insulin resistance, and then some other things, just headaches. And I was so tired. I became so tired and so weak that I could only do the basic feed my cats, clean out the litter box, and that was it. And I was like sleeping, and I just became so weak I could barely lift or do anything. And it actually kind of scared me, because I thought, this is so unlike me. I'm a very I'm doing all day long. I love to be active. I love to work out in the yard, work for hours. And someone's coming to my door. I've got to put you on pause. I have no idea where I left off. So I think I was saying, this has been my day. Interruptions. So let's just be prepared for more. So I just reached physically my lowest point. on an energetic level, just totally depleted. And the mind, and let me back up, because I'm going to tell you something and it will be relevant later. During this whole time, the last several years of me sharing all of these glimpses of awakenings, glimpses, shifts in consciousness, my mind, and this is what happens, the mind will get you, obviously, you know this, at your weakest point, or it will hit you in the area you most hold dear. And for me, spiritual awakening, spiritual advancement is my whole life's purpose. And so this entire 3 or 4 years going through all these shifts, the one thing that has been so freaking consistent is my mind saying, you're not awake, you're not awake, you're not awake. Are you sure you're awake? How can you claim you're awake? I don't think I've ever truly claimed I've awake, have been awake, but at the same time, I knew my identification had shifted. I mean, some of these glimpses that I got, I couldn't come back from, right? Like once you see something, you can never believe the other reality again. And my identity definitely shifted. And even though I knew and know without a doubt, or knew without a doubt, that consciousness had awakened within me to itself, by itself, and awakened to, the silence, the whatever, my mind would constantly, every day, all day long, question, are you sure you're awake? Are you sure you're awake? Are you sure you're not awake? Look at you, you're so stupid, blah, blah, blah. You're still so identified. This is bugging you. I mean, constantly. Okay, now let's put that to the side because it's going to become very important later. So during this kind of week, this was a testing point. I know it was a testing point. And this is what my teacher confirms as well. At my weakest time, I was watching one of the recent interviews on Back Gap. I can't remember who it was, but this guy said, prior to his mind blowing event, he said, I'd finally had enough of the ego. And that just hit me. And I said, me too. And there was like this unknown force of determination and solidity of decision in me, that I said, I've had enough of the ego. And whenever during that time, and I finally said to myself, just hit me, my mantra is silence is truth. And whenever the ego or the mind started making noise, just talking smack to me, for the first time in my life, I had the strength in this particular area about my physical health and awakening. And I said, no. And I had enough divine will to move back into silence and say, no, silence, no, silence is truth, and say no, no, no to ego. And I've been saying you have to say no all the time, but this was like a big aspect of my ego that I was still identified with. And this is why the ego kept saying, you're not awake, you're not awake. You're still identifying with this particular subject matter, whatever, all kinds of images clinging on and everything. And yeah, so it was in that ability to consistently say no, 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 and kind of battle the ego, like not one last time, let's just say one last time for this big chunk, that within that scenario, that obviously opened up something, the guides, the heavens, my teachers, Swamiji, who is now on the other side. And I absolutely call on him, and I know that he's working with me, or I had hoped that he was working with me from the other side, and apparently he is, and I'll tell you in just a second. That was kind of like the test, and that was when it finally dawned on me. Like, I don't know why it didn't dawn on me before. Like, I'm all about holistic healing and getting to the programs underneath your illnesses and working with that. But for some reason, during this really weak, weird insulin resistance thing, I kept thinking, oh, should I go to a doctor? Do I need to see a doctor? Allopathic medicine. And then it's like out of the blue, someone reminded me, hit me on the head and said, dummy, go to your acupuncturist. Now, I haven't gone for a couple of years. And I was like, oh my God, yes, I know that will help me. And it was like a divine little message. It just came out of the blue. Go to your acupuncturist. So I go to my acupuncturist, who I totally forgot is an Ayurvedic doctor, which is when people were working with Swamiji and the whole Kundalini care process, in that lineage, of course, Ayurvedic medicine was the absolute key to supporting your Kundalini process and allowing things to flow much more easily instead of being blocked. So I go to this guy, and whatever he finds out, okay, you're a kapha dosha and you're completely out of whack. You're eating all the wrong foods. Here's some supplements, some nasal ointments and oils, so that you can get your fire back. And, and I have to tell you, it is helping me so much. I have gotten my fire back. And that's exactly what I needed to catapult this new shift in awareness, and to be able to continue to have the strength to say no to the ego. And just a little aside, after that, after I kind of was getting my fire back a little bit, this was a message. I was questioning whether really, Swamiji, are you working with me? And then I had this dream, one of those real dreams. And I was in a hospital, I was getting my heart checked, and the doctor said, you have a hole in your heart. You have to prepare for surgery now. So I was getting all prepared. And then the cat jumped on me, woke me up, and I was like, no, you can't wake me up. And I tried to go back to sleep because I needed to get into surgery. But anyway, I told that to my acupuncturist, and this is kind of irrelevant information. And he did the acupuncture for the heart. But it turns out, after just speaking with my teacher, that she feels, and now I do too, totally, that was Swamiji talking through the doctor, saying you have a hole in your heart. And apparently, Swamiji would talk about in his teachings to his disciples that there are 3 different levels of heart wounds. And hole in the heart is one of the terms that he would use all the time as one of the deepest woundings. And I had no idea he said that. And so she was just kind of confirming that, yes. And because I was questioning, Swamiji, are you working with me? How would I know? And that was one of his terms. So that was a confirmation that Swamiji is working with me from the other side. This lineage is working with me from the other side. And then here's the next dream, which is so just kind of blew me out of the water, but still ego was questioning every bit of it. A couple of days later, I had this other dream. A friend of mine, like a group of people, we were in India, and we were going through this ashram where we were in line to see like a guru, like who is that? Amma, the hugging saint. There's a line and you see the guru. Anyway, people were going through the line for this guru to tell them whether they are awakened or not, or my teacher said to get a darshan. And I was like, oh no. My ego was saying, he's going to avoid you. Nothing's going to happen. And he told my friend ahead of me, you are awake. He said, he used the term, you are happy. And I came in front of him, and he said, and he pulled my head and he goes, you are happy. And it was like, I'm telling you, you are happy. And my teacher just told me that was absolutely consciousness and Swamiji telling me and giving me darshan I'm not sure I know exactly what that term means, but I think it's kind of like a Shakti pot, a transmission of consciousness. You are awake, you are happy, and waking up the consciousness within me to have another shift. Okay, it was so beautiful. And this little Indian man, I couldn't quite see his face, but there is definitely stature and everything resemblance to Swamiji. Okay, and that was beautiful. What else did I, confirmation that Kundalini is an upper process. I saw a literal flame in my head. My teacher was like, yay, flame. And I'm documenting all these things so that if I ever 10 years down the line decide to write a book, I need these details because they are relevant. So I saw a literal flame in my head. It was quite profound. And, you know, something struck. So during this whole spiritual journey, since childhood, I have been more aligned with the dark meaning the illusion, but also the dark as in all negative entities, and just feeling that I was from the dark, that there was no light in me. And yet when I had my shifts in consciousness, I went directly to like the void, the silence, the wordless description arena, the Atman, okay? But there is a third zone, like non-duality is really a triality. There is the light, that white light. And for this past month, that white, brilliant, diamond, amazing light has been showing up in my meditations like ridiculously more so than usual. And even on the outside, I would see this bright white light. And I'm like, what is going on? And then it finally hit me, the realization landed. And I've been using a mantra that Jyotiswa, oh my gosh, I can't say it out loud. I'm not supposed to share it. Anyway, it's a mantra in I'm not supposed to talk about it, that says, I am the light is in me. And I finally had the realization that I am that brilliant white diamond, like crazy firelight. I'm that light that is illuminating this realm of darkness, also known as Shakti. She is the dark, but the illusion. And I'm that brilliant Shiva white light that is illuminating the darkness. Yeah, I am the projector of the white light. I don't know how to explain it, but you get it. And so it merged those three realities. It took me, it just added a third element. I don't know what I'm saying. So while I am the darkness meaning Shakti in this reality, I am also the light, and I am also none of it and all of it at the same time. I am also that which is, you know, in the, I'm so sorry. This is the worst video I've done, but I'm going to just leave it the way it is. Yeah, the light and the dark, and then what surrounds it, which is the nothingness, the void, the silence, the stillness. I am all three of those. And I finally had that realization. They have all merged. I have realized all three of those. Finally, I realized I am the light, that there is goodness in me. Finally, Jesus. Anyway, okay, moving on, because this is probably going to bore you to tears. And then something happened. I mean, finally, I think my teachers, my guides, helpers who were like, finally, first of all, she finally decided to say no to the ego. And she finally recognizes she is the light. Now we can do something more. We can help her. And I'm speaking about grace. Grace finally descended. And I was just sitting on the couch watching my crime shows, and I think there was somebody in a coma, and people at the side, and I was thinking to myself, I wonder, like, when I'm on my deathbed, who's going to be there? And before I say that, the whole ego structure, or at least 80 to 90% of the ego structure, is held together by one basic fear. And what is that? The fear of death. Okay, that's where everything comes from. Yeah. So fear of death holds almost the entire ego structure together. And while I was sitting there kind of thinking generally about my death and who would show up, suddenly something arose, dropped in. I don't know what happened, but absolute joy, excitement, and knowing and anticipation dropped in. And the knowing that dropped in was that there really is no death. Now, we all know that on the spiritual journey. We know that intellectually. But I knew that. I never feared death, or I thought, you think you don't fear death because you go, yeah, we're just energy, and we never die. But until that realize, that's an intellectual thought, that's still a concept in your mind. But when death comes near, I guarantee you there's going to be fear, and also the ego structure is still intact based on those fear. Anyway, in that very moment, that realization landed in my body. It is an absolute knowing. And with that knowing, the excitement and joy and anticipation of my own death, I'm so excited. Not that I'm looking like want to get there, but I'm so looking forward to it. Of course, there might be some physical fears or something, but there's no fear. And I can face my death consciously and with joy. And I was really quite on a high with this realization for about 2 weeks, just kind of ended that high, even though I still kind of feel it. And I feel no sense of fear. And it also awakens something in me. The self feels like it almost fully awakened within me. There's a level of self-confidence, self-assurance. The self just feels very present in me. And here's what I know, why I know some real big shift has happened. Because ever since that day, I haven't heard a peep from the mind asking me, are you awake? Are you awake? Are you sure you're awake? Are you awake? I haven't even thought of that concept, haven't even bothered thinking about it. It is gone. And what I've been feeling is something is gone in me. So dare I say, a big chunk of this ego has fallen away. I don't know, but something is definitely different. There's something different in me when that fear is gone. I cannot describe it, but the famous guru or teacher, her name is Sri Anandamayama, who I have been calling upon because I was told to read this book, wrote an entire book, Death Must Die. And death died in me. So I would suspect a lot of the ego has died in me. And ever since that shift, things have been happening. This is why I started the new project, the interview. There's just something solid in me, or maybe not solid, but yeah, I don't know what else to share, but death has died for me. And it's nice to know that my lineage, the gurus and the teachers of the lineage that I am at least tangentially affiliated with, are working with me. They are speaking to me. They're guiding me, sending me messages, and I feel really good. I feel like the real me for the first time, and I'm excited. And even though it doesn't look so great today, based on the humidity, the amount of humidity and the wind are off the charts today. But I have never gotten the haircut that I've ever wanted until after that shift. So it's kind of like the heavens opened up and said, finally, death has died. She can have the haircut she wants. And I just feel like a whole new person. So yeah, I don't know. It's so much. Yeah, I guess that's all I want to share. I'm sorry. I know this was a very long, rambling video, but there's something, it's grace. It's absolute grace that lands in you when death dies. It's quite a celebration, to speak in Gene Key terms. So that would be Gene Key 42, and that absolutely landed in me. And it's beautiful. I feel like the real me for the first time. Not to say that I might have more stuff come up, okay? But right now, I feel really, really good. And I thought I would share that with you. Okay, all for now.